En Garde, a little hack and slash I didn't have any expectations coming into besides seeing flamboyant characters, and that's because of how it's advertised. And from the first cutscene, it did not disappoint.
Really? Where did he go? I'll catch up to him.
No, he was too agile and so acrobatic.
No challenge can stand up to Adalia de Volador.
But now that leaves the rest of the game. After getting through the basics, learning about attacking, parrying blue attacks, learning about enemy groups and dodging red attacks, and learning to use the environment to your advantage, I thought I had it all figured out. But it turned out that I didn't.
You're tougher than you look. I won't back down.
The main issue was that I didn't take the prompt seriously. Enemy groups are dangerous, and that you need to use the environment. Once I followed the advice, it was much easier to do it. After completing that section, I learned about the fatigue and panache. Fatigue builds on enemies when you kick crates into them or kick them down the stairs or holes. Once filled, the enemy will weaken and will become easier to damage. The panache meter fills when you defeat enemies and do impressive actions. Fighting in the next room after learning about panache, I would show glimpses of understanding the game. I used the area around me to get the upper hand, or at least tried to. Playing in that style was different for me, but it was enjoyable. Knocking those dudes down the stairs was satisfying. Not to mention, I would find myself enjoying the dialogue that the game had, from not only the cutscenes, but the enemies that I would defeat.
Not my palace, not my fight.
But we're just getting started.
So with that in mind, let me talk about the presentation of En Garde. The graphics in En Garde are wonderfully cartoony, and I couldn't picture the game in any other way. I think the game looks best at night, but that's all I really have to say about the graphics. The voice acting is also done well, giving me a good chuckle with some of the lines that were read.
Train me, please.
No.
No one really sounded out of place, and the quality held up throughout the whole journey.
You should call the guards to help you.
Aren't we the guards?
The only thing I felt that was weird was that the mouths of the characters did not move when talking. But that's not really a deal breaker for me. That said, I would say En Garde's presentation as a whole was good. The story in En Garde is episodic in nature. Each episode will introduce a character and will end up being the boss by the end. The Count Duke is the big evil ruling over the people in a terrible way, such as overtaxing them.
Taxing citizens is perfectly within my right, and so is putting seditious radicals like you behind bars where you belong.
Adalia wants to stop him at every turn. I would say my favorite episode was the third, because of Adalia's interactions with Zendaya.
I love this, don't you? Us banding together to save the city like this.
You and your puppy dog eyes. Alright, there's a trophy room up ahead. I'll meet you there.
And they were cute to say the least. As you might have noticed, En Garde only has 4 episodes. Having a short narrative isn't bad, but I did feel like something was missing, and that would be the people. Adalia's whole thing is that she wants to protect the people.
What? Me? Oh, cielos, no. I'm here for the keys. I'm going to give them back to the people where they belong.
The way I see it in my head is that a new episode would be added, this being the new tutorial. At most, I can see this take place in a small plaza, where you interact with those people, they would greet you and be nice to you, and you would learn about how to play the game through them. Maybe a citizen would ask you about some sort of technique, and you would practice that technique on the dummy. Not only would I think it would be a good addition, I think the player would be able to see the state the area is in because of the Count Duke. And you might get to hear some smack talk from the citizens about the soldiers and lackeys. I can see the climax of the episode being a fight breaking out between the citizens and some guards. Before anything gets too serious, Adalia will jump in between them and fight. I couldn't see this chapter going no longer than 15 minutes. and I think it would be a nice addition to show the player the character and the tone of the game. The original episode, now being the second, will be rebalanced to be harder, because they know the player has done the tutorial. En Garde's character interactions made the game so enjoyable, even within the short time. I don't think it would hurt anything if it had an introductory episode, to show why the people need to be protected. At its core, En Garde is a hack and slash that requires the player to be elusive using the environment for crowd control. You isolate enemies and fight them when the odds are in your favor. Fighting one-on-one isn't hard. The complexity comes from dealing with multiple enemies at once. Having good crowd control is done by using objects and surprising enemies. You can surprise enemies by throwing items, but you can also do impressive actions. If you choose to use items or other large objects, be mindful of how they interact with those enemies. When you see the exclamation point, you can kick the person into others, causing more disruption. Using the Panache skills will also help you disrupt the enemies too. Finding ways to surprise enemies, building Panache meter so I can use those skills, and figuring out when to use them all kept me engaged with the game. I found the combat to be absolutely thrilling, especially when I was able to cause chaos using the environment. The only issue I could see with this game is the playtime. Now, with how bad this issue is depends on how much you engage with games. If you only play the main story of En Garde, it's only 4 hours, while doing everything in the game will get you 15 hours. Personally, I don't go for 100% completion myself, but I am the type to keep playing if there's new content. En Garde not only has a story mode, but also an arena, with 4 different difficulties and roguelike elements. Every room you are placed in, regardless of the difficulty, will give you a positive and negative effect, and they are given at random. These effects will stack per round until completion. These stages also have different variants as well. While I didn't think the first 2 were all that hard, the third one gave me a decent challenge, and the fourth gave me a lot of trouble. I found myself doubling my playtime on that alone, from 4.2 hours to 8.1. The game also features a hard mode for the story if you didn't do that already. Hard mode will have guards be more aggressive and your HP will be reduced to 4 total. The game also has achievements, both in-game and from Steam. Honestly, I think it's more likely for people to do what I did, 1 playthrough of the story and the arena. But hey, you are welcome to surprise me and 100% the game yourself. And that's all I have to say for this swashbuckling hack and slash En Garde. This game normally costs $19.99, but I have seen it on sale quite a few times. So if you want to wait for that moment, just put it on your wish list. If you already have played this game, the only game I can think that is similar to this one is the one that it's bundled with, Sifu. Now I haven't played Sifu myself, so I can't say for sure. I've only played Absolver, but that's enough of that. If you want to buy both games, go for it. But anyway, that's it from me. I'll see you in the next one. Hey, if you want to go down that indie game rabbit hole, consider clicking that playlist. Trust me, it'll be worth your while.